I never imagined uncovering the unbelievable scandal of Fredegund, Queen of Neustria. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that crept along the cobblestone streets. My heart raced as I dug deeper into the ancient archives, dust swirling around me like the secrets I sought. Each page I turned whispered of betrayal, love, and power, mysterious threads woven into the life of a woman who changed the course of history, Fredegund. A name that struck fear into the hearts of her enemies. A queen known for her cunning and ruthlessness. I felt a chill run down my spine. Rumors of murder and deception flitted through my mind, almost tangible in the heavy air. Why had history glamorized her? It was easy to look at portraits of her fierce gaze and regal attire, but beneath that facade lay a darkness I was determined to illuminate. The clues were everywhere, hidden like gems among the rubble of forgotten tales. I had heard tales from old villagers, their voices quavering with age and mistrust. She was a sorceress, one had said, eyes wide with the weight of his words. With blood on her hands. Other whispers spoke of a phantom child, lost and cursed, a secret buried deeper than the graves of her enemies. I was entranced. The more I learned, the more I craved the truth. There were nights I found myself shivering alone, wrapped in the cloak of her legend. I could almost hear her heartbeat echoing through time, pulling me into her tumultuous world. It made my own brother's troubles seem trivial. He, tangled in debts and desperate for redemption, had no idea how far my pursuit of Fredegund would lead me into danger. I never backed down from a challenge. But this was different. This was raw and dangerous. I had emerged from the shadows of my past determined, resilient. Conversations in hushed corners filled my mind. People gasped, murmurs of treachery swirling around me. I found myself entwined in a web of unspeakable truths. Every clue seemed to lead me closer to something bigger, something that could break families apart and shatter legacies. The air felt charged with the kind of anticipation that hinted at stormy weather. Just when I thought I was grasping the mysteries, the walls I banged against began to shift and crumble. A letter, sent from the heart of Neustria itself, arrived unexpectedly on my doorstep that night, sealed and marked with the insignia of the Queen. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Questions raced in my mind. Who had sent it? What truth did it hold? My breath hitched in my throat, and I felt the walls close in around me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. My heart thundered in my chest as I unfolded the parchment, the ink glistening like dark secrets in the dim light of my study. The letter was brief but laced with urgency, begging a meeting at the old bridge, a place cloaked in folklore and ghost stories that whispered of traders lost to time. The final line caught my breath: the truth will demand a sacrifice. Dread gnawed at my insides, but thrill mingled with fear, urging me onward. Reluctantly, I glanced at the portrait of my brother hanging on the wall, his face marred with desperation and shadows of defeat. I brushed a finger along the frame, feeling the cool wood beneath my touch, wondering if my own quest would pull him deeper into misery. I had envisioned uncovering a scandal, digging through layers of history, but the reality of unearthing treachery was more daunting than I had anticipated. The night hung thick with mist as I made my way to the bridge. Each step echoed the hesitation in my heart, but hope stubbornly wrestled with doubt. Would this rendezvous lead to enlightenment or disaster? The wind howled softly through the trees, as if carrying the voices of the past to guide me closer. As I approached, the silhouette of a figure emerged from the shadows. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized the woman standing before me, Mathilde, a historian from the neighboring village who had long been a fellow seeker of truths. Her reputation as an antiquarian rivaled my own, yet we had never worked together. Her presence here left me unsettled, but there was a warmth in her eyes that dispelled some of my apprehension. I couldn't resist the urge to come, she said, her voice like a soft melody laced with concern. The threads we pull unravel more than we realize. What have you uncovered, Mathilde? I breathed, urgency marking my tone. There's a child involved. A phantom child linked to Fredegund, a secret that could fracture more than history itself. I received this letter. I paused, clutching the parchment tightly. Her eyes widened at my words, a flicker of recognition igniting a spark. I have heard the tale of the lost child. Many believe she cursed Fredegund's lineage. If what's written in your letter holds, it may unveil truths even the Queen feared to confront. Before I could respond, a sudden rustle behind us made my heart race. A figure emerged from the mist, a stranger cloaked in darkness, leaning casually against the aged stones. I could barely see his face, shadowed and inscrutable, but something was unmistakably wrong. Do you really think you can handle this? He called out, his voice cold and mocking. Playing with shadows and whispers of terrible women? You are meddling with forces you don't understand. Fear gripped me, but I couldn't retreat. Who are you? I demanded, adrenaline surging. What do you know of Fredegund? Instead of answering, he laughed softly, a sound that chilled me to the bone. I know everything, and nothing. The truth will come at a cost. Are you prepared to pay it? The words hung heavy in the air, thickening the tension. Mathilde stepped closer to me, her earlier warmth extinguished, replaced by a steely resolve. The flicker of candles at the edge of the bridge danced wildly as the wind spiraled around us, amplifying the sense of danger. Let's go, she said urgently, grabbing my arm. We shouldn't engage with someone so lost in the shadows. We have work to do. But before we could flee, a soft gasp echoed through the mist. It was a familiar sound, and it pierced through the atmosphere like an arrow of ice. Turning quickly, I felt my heart drop as I came face to face with my brother, his gaze hollow and desperate. What have you gotten yourself into? He spat, anger and fear mingling in his voice. My resolve weakened in that moment, the weight of conflicting emotions crashing over me like an unforgiving tide. I had spiraled into a conflict far beyond my intentions, and now, standing on the precipice of unearthing history's dark heart, I was faced with the unbearable cost of my actions. As I searched my brother's eyes for understanding, his expression hardened into one of betrayal. You don't know what you're involving our family in. You need to stop. The shadowy stranger laughed again, a mocking sound that echoed beneath the bridge. My mind rushed with possibilities, but the heaviness of that moment grew heavier, threatening to pull me under. I had sought the truth and was now confronted with the unforeseen consequences that might cost more than I was willing to pay. Sensing the turmoil on my face, Mathilde leaned in. We need to find a way out before this gets worse, but as I turned to face her, the stranger remained and whispered, You think you can escape your fate? The truth has a way of revealing what one desperately seeks to hide. Those words carved into me like a bitter memory, and I realized we were entwined in a story far more formidable than I'd ever imagined. My heart raced as I fought to maintain my grip on hope, but I couldn't shake the inexplicable terror that what I sought to uncover could unravel everything I cherished. The chill lingered in the air, gripping my heart as tightly as the shadows behind the stranger. My brother, his face taut with anger and worry, stood between us and the abyss of our family's history, a history I had been so desperate to uncover, yet now felt like a noose tightening around my neck. Please, you must leave, he implored, his voice strained. I could see the turmoil ebbing and flowing within him, the push and pull of wanting to protect me even as he was afraid of the truths I was chasing. This isn't about you, I snapped, frustration growing as the urgency of the moment clawed at me. I forced myself to meet his gaze, unwilling to look away as the world began to spin around us. I need to know about the child, Lucien. The child connected to Fredegund. If there is even a chance of salvaging our family's honor, I have to pursue it. Your quest for truth will only lead to more destruction, he shot back, anxiety spilling over as his hand clenched into a fist. This is not playtime, this is our legacy, our lives. Mathilde, ever the stabilizing force, moved beside my brother, her brow furrowed in concern. Lucien, she said gently, if there's even a shred of reality to what is implied here, we cannot turn our backs on it. Secrets buried too deeply have a way of suffocating the truth and turning it into a haunting, and what do you know about haunting? The stranger interjected, stepping forward. His voice, like gravel grinding against flesh, made me recoil. What you pursue is not just a child's tale, It is a curse that feeds upon the souls of those too curious for their own good. I swallowed hard, fear coiling around my heart. Yet somewhere amidst that fear flickered a glimmer of fierce determination. Then let it haunt me, I declared, forcing confidence into my voice. I will not allow our family to be shrouded in disgrace any longer. If there are monsters lurking in our past, I'm ready to face them. Both Mathilde and Lucien stared at me as if I had just cast a spell. Lucien softened for a heartbeat, his resolve faltering. Renee, it's not just the truth that's at stake. It's your very soul. What if the child is truly as lost as the stories say? Can you bear to realize that our family may have been cursed? The stranger chuckled, an unsettling sound that made me shiver. Every family holds its ghosts, Lucien. Yours is merely more pronounced. Do you really think uncovering this truth will free you from it? It may bind you tighter to the shadows. For a moment, the weight of his words suspended the air between us, and I felt the tendrils of doubt creep in. What if this was a mistake? But torn between the desire to shield my brother from further pain and my need for the truth, I leaned closer to him. I'll find a way to protect you. I promise. I just need you to trust me. Lucien's eyes shone with unshed tears as he scanned my face for the certainty I needed to portray, but the shadows cast by the stranger continued to loom ominously over his expression. Trust? You ask for trust when you're inviting chaos into our lives? You're inviting your own ruin. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the lanterns we had brought, plunging us into darkness. A shiver raced down my spine as I felt the strange man's presence grow more oppressive, his figure seeming to transform in the haze of the night. Is chaos not the very dance of truth? He asked, his voice dripping with venomous glee. Why not gather your loved ones? Let the echoes of the past touch their lives directly. The truth, dear child, is a relentless punisher. It was as if his words had conjured a vortex around us, tugging at the seams of the night and unraveling the protective barriers we had associated with safety and ignorance. I could feel Mathilde's hand tighten around my wrist, her warmth a reminder that I wasn't alone. Yet the shadows of uncertainty continued to stretch around us. Just when I thought the tide was turning, when hope threatened to quench despair, another voice surged through the fog. It was a soft whisper that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the earth, calling my name, Renee. Renee. My heart raced, for I recognized it. It belonged to the lost child, the voice of innocence buried beneath centuries of sorrow. Do you hear that? I breathed, stepping away from my brother, my eyes wide with realization. My past, intertwined with this lost child's, echoed in surreal clarity, and I could no longer ignore it. The child, she's trying to guide us. She wants us to know. But Lucien's expression shifted from anger to confusion, and Mathilde's hand fell from my wrist. You mustn't chase illusions, Renee. Lucien shouted, panic rising in his voice. The ghosts of our lineage cannot be revived. They are just that, ghosts. The stranger's laughter intensified, erasing the distance between us with its malevolence. Fate waits for no one. Will you choose to follow the whispers, or will you turn back? The clock strikes, my lovely seekers of truth. Choose wisely. My heart raced with a dangerous mix of terror and anticipation. If the echoes were calling to me, I had only two choices: to turn away and retreat into the safety of ignorance, or step into the depths of our family's dark past, embracing whatever awaited me there. The choice weighed heavily upon my shoulder as I stood teetering on the edge of both danger and revelation, my spirit yearning for the truth. Then the whisper returned, clearer now, and I realized with a shock that the echoes were not solely arising from the past. They were reaching out to the living, to the heart of my family, to loosen an even greater revelation waiting to shatter our fragile peace. Before I could process what this could mean, the stranger's voice licked the air. You may find the truth unforgiving, dear Renee. Are you ready for the sacrifice I foretold? Just then, the shadows around us shifted dramatically, thrusting a terrifying realization into clarity. I turned to my brother, who had gone pale, his eyes wide in horror as he whispered, "No, not him. We need to leave now." But it was too late. The echoes had begun their relentless pull, leading us toward a fate none of us were prepared for. The air thickened, a blanket of dread settling over us as Lucien's voice trembled with urgency. "Please, Renee. We need to leave. This isn't a path we should tread." His eyes darted around us, gauging the shadows that seemed to writhe and sway with predatory intent. But the whispering sweet and haunting tugged at my heart, weaving an irresistible thread that connected me to something greater. "Lucien, wait," I called, panic-riddled but resolute. "What if this is our chance? What if we can finally understand and perhaps end the legacy of suffering tied to our family name?" Mathilde shook her head vigorously, stepping closer to Lucien, as fear flickered in her eyes. "René, what you're feeling, it's not hope. It's deception, baiting you into a trap. We have to be careful. This isn't just history, it's a burden we might not be able to bear." Yet another whisper weaved through the night, stronger and more insistent now. "René," the allure flowed through me, bathing my spirit in longing. It felt like the very essence of history was calling from the depths below, every syllable promising clarity, safety, redemption for our family. "Find me, stop it." Lucien's voice rose, cracking under the weight of his fears. "This can't be real. You're hearing nothing but echoes of your imagination." But I could see the internal battle raging within him, his own curiosity battling against the fear of revelation. "I am not imagining this," I countered, feeling both emboldened and terrified. "The child, Lucien, the one they say is lost, wants us to know. It's not merely a specter of our past. It's a plea for understanding. Or a lure into despair," Mathilde murmured, her voice trembling with conviction. But even as she spoke, her brow pinched in contemplation, and I could see her heart wavering. Suddenly, the darkness around us shifted violently, as though a great wind had swept across the landscape. Shadows twisted and curled, forming phantom shapes that brought forth gnawing knots of memories. Each face emerged only to dissolve, leaving the raw core of my longing barrier family that had been broken by silence. In that moment, something shifted within me. The urgency in my heart transformed into a resolute drive. I knew I couldn't back down. "You may not want to look, but we must venture forth," I insisted, drawing strength from the voices flooding my mind. "I cannot leave without knowing the truth." The stranger watched in sinister appreciation, his smile widening as if he reveled in our turmoil. "Ah, the hunt begins. Can you feel the pull of your forebears, dear seeker? But beware, the truths you chase often have a price. Would you pay the toll? I would pay anything for my family's peace." I breathed, sensing the shift in the air, an electrifying blend of danger and purpose illuminating the darkness around me. "Do not say that lightly," he cautioned, a heavy growl laced with mocking sincerity. "For the cost may not fall solely upon you." Lucien seemed to falter, uncertainty flickering behind his dark pupils. "René, you don't understand the implications. The child, what if she suffered beyond rescue? What if the truth unveils more pain than we've already endured? Maybe it's not just mining for sorrow," I pleaded. "Lucien, we can heal. Imagine knowing that the curse can be broken, other lives saved." Mathilde, feeling the weight of our collective heartache, edged closer, her voice gentle. "Listen to your heart, René. The truth holds power, but so does the absence of it. We must tread carefully. And always remember, I will support you no matter which road you take." A flicker of warmth began to bloom in my chest, but it was overshadowed by the shadows twisting menacingly among us. Then came the crackling of branches, breaking the spellbinding tension. Out of the woods and into the flickering lantern's light, a figure stepped forward. In the dim glow, I could barely discern their face, yet a sensation crawled down my spine, a haunting familiarity in the way they held themselves, a lingering trace of desperation mingled with purpose. "Who are you?" My voice trembled. "What do you want?" The figure came into the light, skin pale as alabaster, lips pressed tight. A smile that didn't reach those shimmering eyes faltered as they replied, "I am searching for the truth, too. And I know of the child tied to Fredegund." Lucien stepped forward, his body a barrier between me and the stranger. "Speak clearly. We no longer entertain illusions." "I do not speak of illusions," the figure replied, hesitating only for a moment as the weight of their words sank in. "I am the child's keeper, the one who has guarded these whispers for years. But there are things you must understand before you walk this path." In that moment, everything stilled me, breath, the dark clouds swirling overhead, all tension coiled taut in anticipation. I felt as if the universe held its breath with me, and the weight of the revelation hung heavily in the air. I had gambled everything on chasing a truth that could shatter user, bring us salvation, tell us. I demanded, my voice cutting through the noise. If you know something, you must share it. But just as the stranger opened their mouth to speak, darkness swept across the land again, shadows coming alive, and in that instant, I could sense it. The echoes were louder now, an anguished symphony beckoning from realms we dared not traverse. Then the figure fell silent, their expression suddenly twisting in alarm. You shouldn't have come here, they cried. It's all a trap. The child, she's not who you think she is. A solitary bolt of realization struck through me, and I gasped, the ground shaking beneath our feet. Suddenly, I wasn't just on the brink of uncovering our family history, I stood on the cusp of the unfathomable. The tentacles of danger entwined around my heart, tightening their grip. What do you mean? I whispered, horror creeping up my spine. But before the figure could answer, a chilling howl rose from the shadows, and everything erupted into chaos. As the night closed in around us, I realized that the truth I sought might not just illuminate the darkness but plunge me deeper into the abyss. The howl reverberated through the air like the tolling of a funeral bell, and chaos erupted as shadows seethed and twisted violently around us. I clutched Lucien's arm, my heart racing at the sudden surge of energy crackling within the dark. Terrified, we instinctively recoiled, but the gaping maw of night loomed closer, pulling us into its depths. Run! Lucien shouted, breaking the paralysis that gripped us. We turned, ready to flee, but the path seemed lost to the shadows. A suffocating darkness surrounded, shifting, as if each step we took only deepened the very pit of despair we sought to escape. Over here! Mathilde yelled, directing us to a narrow path freshly revealed by the receding shadows. It felt like the only lifeline, our footsteps echoing in synchronicity with the desperate thundering of our hearts. We hurried into the corridor of trees, branches clawing at us like skeletal fingers. Wait! The keeper's voice rang out, unyielding against the cacophony. You must not walk away without knowing. But we didn't stop, our hearts were bent on survival, drowning out the echoes of what lay behind us. Yet my mind betrayed me, replaying the keeper's words like a fractured mirror reflecting the chaos. The child, she's not who you think she is. An insidious uncertainty wormed its way into my thoughts, rattling the resolve I had felt moments ago. We stumbled into a small clearing, a ring of trees encasing us like an ancient sanctuary, where faint moonlight trickled through the leaves. It was here, cradled by the soft rustling of nature, that we paused, gasping for breath, still on the precipice of our desires and fears. What was that? Mathilde whispered breathlessly, her eyes wide and shimmering with lingering terror. I wish I knew, Lucien murmured. But it felt like a warning. Or a trap, I murmured, letting the weight of doubt seep into my voice. The keeper's cryptic warning hung around me like a dense fog, swirling with the fragrance of damp earth and whispered promises. A tiny flicker of hope ignited in me, peeking through the shadows. Maybe we need to return, I suggested, still shaken but desperate to uncover the truth. If that child is indeed tied to our fate, we can't just abandon her even if it means diving headfirst into danger. Lucien shook his head vehemently. That's exactly what they want us to do. You can't just rush back into the dark like that. It's our only chance. I argued, sensing that beneath the layers of fear and uncertainty, the compelling truth of our lineage awaited. The keeper warned us, yes, but what if they are also telling us what we genuinely need to know? We owe it to ourselves and to our family. Can't you sense the desperation underlying their words? Lucien implored, stepping closer as if the proximity could soften the edges of my stubbornness. The child's identity, what if it is so entwined with Fredegund's secrets, it's lost to shadows we could never navigate? We can't battle phantoms, we're already battling phantoms, I replied softly, frustration melting into determination. Turning away means surrendering to generations of fear. If our family is cursed to repeat its past, shouldn't we rewrite that story? Mathilde glanced between us, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. What if we can find a way to confront those shadows? Knowledge can be a source of power if wielded wisely. Maybe we shouldn't dismiss that keeper so easily. The gaze of my brother hardened, but doubt flickered in his eyes. In that fragile moment, I witnessed a glimmer of his own resolve, the tightness in his posture loosening just a fraction. Fine, he relented, though unease danced across his features. Let's return. But we must tread lightly. With a shared glance between us, the decision forged a bond in the face of chaos. We retraced our steps and were met once more by the dark, now seemingly denser, more alive. The echoes whispered around us like tides, urging us forward into the profound unknown. As we re-entered the foreboding grove, the atmosphere shifted palpably, the darkness seemed to beckon rather than repel. Shadows coalesced into shapes that writhed before us, flickering like memories yet to be understood. Just as my apprehension swelled to a fever pitch, a faint shimmer illuminated the pathway ahead. The keeper stood resolute, their ethereal figure contrasting against the deep of night. You returned, they spoke, voice firm yet laced with an echo of understanding. But the truths you seek may tear asunder the very fabric of your understanding. Enough riddles, I urged, stepping forward, heart hammering. Tell us what is tied to the child. But before they could respond, the air thickened with tension, and a tremor rocked the ground beneath us. A singular, chilling voice snarled from the depths of the shadows. You think you seek the truth, but what if it pits you against your very selves? I froze, dread washing over me as the shadows began to coalesce into forms, an army of spectres rising from the ground, eyes devoid of mercy. The very essence of our ancestral burdens began to reveal itself, and in that instant, a terrifying truth gripped my heart. The abyss we had sought to understand didn't merely beckon us, it had woken to claim us. What do you mean? I whispered, dread tightening my throat, but before any further revelations could come to light, a haunting cry burst forth, echoing from the forest and piercing the gathering storm. Help me! A voice wailed, rising against the cacophony, drawing us into a pitch-black vortex of anguish. The echoes felt familiar yet achingly distant, an ode of despair laced with the promise of understanding. Get back! Lucian shouted, pulling me close. But I could barely hear him over the rising wave of cries. As the shadows pressed in, the fear of inevitability folded around my heart, and I realized we stood in the eye of a tempest, where the darkness held not just secrets but something far more perilous waiting to be unleashed. As the wails crashed against the cacophony like waves smashing on an unforgiving shore, disbelief coursed through me. The familiar voice, laced with fear and desperation, gnawed at the edges of my memory. It was a plea that transcended time, reaching out with fingers of regret and longing from a past we had long sought to evade. I turned to Lucian, eyes wide, seeking solace and clarity amidst the chaos. Do you hear her? I whispered, though my voice quivered, his expression shifted, morphing from determination to a haunted reflection. I do. Mathilde's grip on my arm tightened. We can't just stand here. We need to help her. The spectres began to close in, each face shifting between anguish and rage. The weight of their burdens pressed down on us like an iron fist, dragging us further into despair. I could feel an urge rising within me, an irrepressible need to solve the mystery wrapped around that voice, to peel back the layers of anguish and uncover its source, all while the darkness whispered its warnings. Listen! I shouted, forcing my voice to rise above the desperate cries. Tell us who needs help. In response, an ethereal light flickered, like hope igniting at the heart of darkness, illuminating a shadowy figure just beyond our reach, a mere silhouette against a backdrop of sorrow and despair. It beckoned, the outline slowly sharpening, revealing an image of a child cloaked in shadows, her face obscured by a curtain of tangled hair. Yet the urgency in her eyes was palpable, piercing through the heavy veil of fear that surrounded us. Before I could react, painful recognition gripped me, a spectre of innocence, bright yet broken. No, I gasped, the realization striking me like lightning. The glow that flickered around her reminded me of cherished memories, faded yet unyielding. This is her. The child. Lucian staggered backward, shock unmarred by denial. But how? What does this mean? The voice of the child echoed again, a chime of desperation striking my heart. You must find me. You must set me free. Before I could formulate a response, the shadows shuddered, coiling tightly around me as if aware of the connection forming. Panic flooded my nerves. What binds you to this darkness? In retaliation, the shadows clamored, the anger of generations spilling into the night like spilled ink on parchment. To know the child is to know the sins of Fredegund, a ghostly chorus uttered, weaving through the air. The truth is not for the faint of heart. We already carry the weight of that truth. Mathilde implored. But we can help you, help? But can you? Can you bear what lies beneath? The shadows shrieked, their voices a manifestation of the familial curses hidden in the folds of time. I felt the tendrils of fear entwine around my heart, tightening its grip as if to crush my spirit. "We're willing, please, show us." I cried out, the urgency pushing me forward, deeper into the very maw of darkness. The child, the depths of her torment pulling me, urged me on. Laughter, cruel yet melodic, echoed through the clearing. Ah, but such foolish ambition! It will destroy you, it will shatter your bonds. Yet, if you must follow your heart, follow your blood. See the truth awaken suddenly, the darkness surged, shadows twisting into a tunnel that beckoned us forward. The forest morphed, branches curling ominously, and caught in its web, we were pulled into a vision, a haunting tapestry of the past unfurling before us. Images burst forth, battles lost, blood spilled under moonlit nights, and a queen's laugh carried on the wind like an unsettling lullaby. Fredegund, the woman who had shaped our lineage, was locked in a dance with fate, her hands stained with secrets, her heart wrapped in betrayal. "You seek to know the unspeakable," the shadowy voice crooned. "Yet what you'll uncover may shatter not just the bonds that bind you but the very essence of what you believe to be true of yourselves." I clutched Lucien's arm, the weight of the night pressing heavily against us, and with a determined breath, I stepped forward into the vision. "Then let it shatter. Because I refuse to be shackled by fear. I will find her." Mathilde followed, and together, we plunged into the darkness, our feet finding purchase on soil laden with tales of sorrow. With every heartbeat, uncertainty gnawed at the edges of my consciousness, but the flicker of the child's plea pulled strongly at my soul, guiding us deeper into the abyss. Just as we crossed the threshold, an ominous rumble shattered the silence. The ground quaked violently, and shadows erupted, flaring around us like a tempest. My pulse quickened, dread pooling in my stomach. The light that had once flickered now threatened to extinguish, ensnared in the throes of a battle far greater than our own. I glimpsed the child again, and with a primal scream, she reached out toward us, her form flickering dangerously at the borders of reality. "You cannot turn back now. The truth has already begun to unravel." In that desperate moment, as I watched her fade in and out like a dying star, I realized we were not simply confronting the darkness of our past, we had invoked something ancient and powerful. And with that invocation came consequences that might reach beyond our understanding, beyond our wildest fears, and the final shards of realization struck me like a lightning bolt through the storm. Uncovering the truth might not just challenge our very identities but forge us into something irrevocably unrecognizable. In this single instant, I understood we were on the brink of making choices that rippled through time itself, choices that could alter the course of our family forever. Then came a bone-chilling howl that cut through our minds, leaving only stark silence in its wake. The air around us thickened, a weight of inevitability pressing on our shoulders, as the world teetered on the edge of an unfathomable revelation. The child's wail echoed, a reminder that as we sought the truth, we were also facing a choice that could bind us ever deeper to the chilling legacy of Fredegund, Queen of Neustria. The earth trembled beneath us, and I instinctively reached for Mathilde, my fingers intertwining with hers as our hearts raced in tandem. The collapsing shadows churned, black and uncertain, and I felt the fragile thread of hope flicker like an errant flame in the tempest of despair surrounding us. Every second felt elongated, punctuated by the child's fading cries that pressed against my conscience, urging, begging for freedom, "Stay close." I shouted against the chaos. Lucien's features were pale, each quiver of his breath echoing his uncertainty. But there was strength in his eyes, something fierce and protective. The shadows swirled around us in a frantic dance, dragging memories from the depths. Flickers of light weaved in and out of sight, showing faces reminiscent of ours, twisted in similar expressions of fear and despair. They were the ancestors whose choices had led us here, entangled in a web spun from blood and betrayal, secrets buried in the dark soil of our family history. "Look!" Mathilde cried, her voice piercing through the noise. Directing our focus, she revealed overlapping fragments of time cascading before us, images locked in a mournful embrace. The once vibrant thrumming of the forest grew quieter, stilled by the weight of these memories. In one vision, Fredegund sat on a throne, a crown of thorns resting delicately atop her head, shadowy tendrils creeping through her grasp as she held court. Her expression, an alluring mask of confidence, ball looming done as a queen torn between loyalty and betrayal. "I will protect what is mine," she hissed, her voice a low growl, reverberating across the chasm of time. My heart quickened, feeling the storm of tyrannical power radiate from her essence. In another flicker, we stood in the shadows, hidden behind the walls of her castle, witnessing a moment of vulnerability, a brief glimpse of Fredegund alone, tears tracing paths down her regal face. "I sacrificed everything for you," she whispered into the void, and the pulse of her lament surged against my heart. The sight twisted something deep within me. It became painfully clear that Fredegund, shaped by forces greater than herself, was more than just a tyrant. She was a woman ensnared, longing for connection amidst her ruthless reign. She was fighting her demons, I murmured, trying to tether my thoughts. And it consumed her. These fleeting moments elicit tenderness beneath the layers of our shared history, history heavy with burdens passed down, revealing that the darkness we faced was not just an inheritance but an outcry for understanding. Douc. Lucien's voice cut through my reverie, fierce with newfound determination. "She yearns for the truth to be unveiled, for her legacy to be understood." "Yes," Mathilde agreed, eyes alight with a fervor I recognized the bittersweet ache of empathy. "It's not just about the child. It's about breaking the chains that bind her." The shadows shifted, the cacophony momentarily easing, quickly replaced by a menacing whisper that seemed to encircle our minds like a black mist. "You cannot erase what was written in blood. Betrayal runs deeper than love." I felt my resolve waver as those words struck against my heart. What if unearthing these truths meant confronting our own reflections of treachery? What if we, too, had come to bear the sins of our ancestors? "No," I breathed, shaking my head. "Well, not be bound by the past." But uncertainty gnawed at me, an insistent ache that urged caution. Footsteps echoed distantly, drawing closer, each step reverberating like thunder in my chest, a warning of what might come if we pushed forward. "If we're to understand her, then we must embrace all of it," I urged, trying to maintain the flicker of hope that remained. Even the darkest part. Just then, air stirred sharply as a figure materialized amidst the haze, silhouetted against the turmoil. The child from before, her outline delicately ghost-like, fragile under the weight of time and shadow. Her eyes met mine, brimming with a mixture of fear and an unquenchable desire for release. "Please," she implored, stretching out her tiny hand toward me, fingers trembling. "Help me remember." "Help you remember?" I echoed, the gravity of her statement sending a jolt through my understanding of our task. "What do you need us to remember?" In that fleeting moment, the shadows hissed, the ground beneath cracking like ice, and the child's form shimmered, wavering at the edges as uncertainty wrapped around her presence. "The truth demands courage, and courage draws from love lost and love found," she said, her voice an echo of wistfulness that pierced through despair like a beacon. "You must remember the truth to free me." But just as understanding began to dawn, the howl of rage erupted, a cacophony that shattered our moment of contact. The shadows recoiled, swirling tighter, threatening to snare us in a confluence of terror and regret. Everything erupted into chaos once more. "We need to go back," Mathilde shouted, her voice threaded with fear. "We can't allow the darkness to consume us." Just then, I caught sight of Lucien's face, his resolve steeped in panic yet shimmering with the bravery that ignited within. "No," he declared, his words stronger than the storm. "We can't run from this anymore. We need to face it together." As the shadows lunged, forming serpentine arms that threatened to ensnare us, I felt time folding in on itself. "Remember," the child's voice whispered through the din, and with a heart heavy yet ablaze with determination, I held onto Lucien and Mathilde as we formed a line against the oppressive tide, and together, we would unearth the truth that bound us to Fredegund. Yet, as I steeled my heart for what lay ahead, a devastating realization cut through the tumult. The child was not just at the heart of our challenge, she was the key to a revelation that could redefine everything we believed about heritage, love, and sacrifice. With that thought loomed another breath-stopping truth: facing Fredegund's legacy might rip apart the very essence of who we were as a family, interwoven in a scandal that would stretch far beyond our time. And still, we grasped onto the flicker of that promise, igniting fragile strands of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. But just as the shadows surged toward us with ferocity, an unexpected warmth enveloped my hand. I turned to see Mathilde's expression, fierce and resolute, and in that moment, something shifted. An unvoiced promise hung in the air, daring us to charge forward into the unknown. In the swirling chaos, I hoped it was enough to tip the scales in our favor. Yet the darkness swelled in reply, whispering ominously, "Are you prepared to face the truth? Prepare yourselves for what you may never have anticipated." And as those words echoed, a shadow broke free from the meld, revealing a face that sent icy terror down my spine. An unexpected figure from our past, eyes glinting with familiar malice, an unsettling smile poised and waiting in the shadows. "Welcome back to the game," they whispered, carving a notch of disbelief deep into our hearts. "You've only just begun to unravel the sinister threads of your lineage." The very air shimmered with an instinctive dread, an energy that coiled tightly around us as the identity of our newcomer burrowed into my mind, unraveling a tapestry of memories and fears I thought I had left behind. Meles. The architect of our family's downfall. The traitor who had slipped through every net we cast, only to appear now, resurrected from the shadows like an anguished yet regal spectre of vengeance. Meles. I gasped, the name bursting from my lips as a mere whisper, an involuntary reaction to the serpentine glimmer of her smile. Time wove a cocoon around our chaos, drawing us toward her while holding other memories at bay, those of laughter intertwined with betrayal. "Surprised to see me?" she mused, a teasing lilt coloring her voice that cut through my fear, leaving a chill that seeped beneath my skin. "But dear ones, is it truly a shock? This charade of forging a new path? You cannot abandon what you were born into. Blood binds tighter than destiny." I tried to look away, to erase her presence. The tempest in my heart gathered speed, hosted by a tempest of blurred edges and broken trust. "You're not real," I half shouted, half pleaded, summoning strength from the whispered memories of our ancestors who had fought against her, and yet, here I stand. She twirled slowly, leaning into the shadows that flickered behind her, a ghostly waltz with darkness. "But you needn't fear me. After all, I am the living proof of how far the stakes have risen. You can't uncover what you don't remember." Mathilde squeezed my hand tightly, warmth radiating from her touch, grounding me as Lucien stepped forward. There was an unyielding fierceness in his emerald gaze, a tether to hope. "Why are you here, Meles?" he demanded, the strength in his voice eclipsing the wilderness around us. "What do you want from us?" Her laughter danced like fire, layering the shadows with hues of mirth that could pierce through the veil of despair. "You don't understand. It's not about what I want, it's about what you need to uncover. Only then can you release Fredegund, and only then can this cursed legacy of ours dissipate like smoke." "Uncover what?" I challenged, defiance igniting more firmly than fear. "All you bring is chaos. There is no value in your twisted words." Her expression shifted, cool and calculating, pinning me with an intensity layered with memories unshared. "Perhaps that's where you're wrong. Very few truths arise from the darkness without a semblance of despair. You, my dear, carry the weight of 1,000 secrets untold." The shadows pulsed around us. Increasingly restless, I searched for understanding amidst the chaos, but every word Meles offered resonated like a haunting lullaby, a siren song that pulled at the edges of lost memories. It was clear we were standing at the precipice, teetering on the edge of either disaster or revelation, yet I could feel hope flickering amidst the shadows. "The child," Mathilde interjected, her voice unwavering like a bright flame. "What does she have to do with this? She is the key, a vessel burdened with memories that need to unfold. To remember is to empathize, and from empathy arises freedom." Meles' gaze softened for a split second, a fleeting glimpse of pain surfacing before resolute malice rushed in to obscure it. "You must reach deep, and accept all that you are, before you can release her from the shadows." Before I could comprehend her words, the child's form flickered once more, a wisp of hope entangled within the vast swirl of shadows. Her eyes shone bright, a lighthouse amidst a stormy sea. "Please," she urged, tentative yet fierce, "the truth shall set you free. It's in your hearts you must dig deep." As shadows coiled tightly around us, building a cocoon of desperation, the child's whispered plea resonated through me, sparking a flicker of clarity amidst the haze of confusion. "We can't let the darkness consume what's left of our hearts. We need each other," I implored, squeezing Mathilde's hand as Lucien stood unyielding beside us, a pillar of strength against the tide. A new resolve simmered in our resolve, but as we began to push on through the chaotic storm, an unexpected wave of energy thrashed through the dark. Meles, unfurling her concealed power, manipulated the shadows into a cacophony of images that crashed over us like a fierce tempest. Visions poured forth, betrayal etched in stone, every wound of the past unfurling around us, despite our desire to look away. The faces of our forebears twisted in betrayal, the decisions that had led us here borne on hollow laughter. Each revelation ignited a spark of conflicted emotion, their suffering echoed through generations, and the grief felt fresh and raw. Every memory fed the shadows, charging them with whispers of despair, fear, and anguish that compelled us to listen even when we wished to forget. "No?" I cried, grasping at the fabric of my reality as each vision tugged me into a whirlpool of darkness. "These memories do not define us," but Maylis' laughter chimed, beckoning us to the edge of that infamy. "How brave you are to want to change the story. But can you? Or will the truth reveal the demons that live beneath your own skin?" It was a terrifying thought, one that clawed at the core of my being. As the shadows clawed at my spirit, an overwhelming sense of vulnerability flooded over me, threatening to push me into the depths of despair alongside Fredegund. Just as I began to question my own resolve, the child reached for me, determination etched in her small features. "You can do it. Please help me remember," she cried, her voice piercing through the chaos, grounded in innocence yet powerfully prophetic, and in that moment, my heart fluttered with a startling understanding. The child embodied not just the burden of revelation but the hope that grew from the ashes of pain. But facing the truth came with consequences. The burden of what we might unearth could change everything. As the shadows coalesced with an icy hiss, enveloping us, Maylis' laughter rang out, taunting us. "Do you truly think you can rewrite history? The heartache must be faced, only then may the story reach its true end." I felt the weight of our choice pressing on my shoulders. Was there enough light left within us to illuminate the cracks of despair? Would we falter or rise to embrace the truth that lurked in the murky depths of our lineage? Yet as I took a breath, a sharp pang of fear gripped my chest at the thought of what unearthing our past might cost us. And just as the shadows lunged, a sickening realization washed over me. What if confronting the truth about Fredegund was more dangerous than I had anticipated? And so, in the whirlwind of turmoil, I held close those embers of hope within my heart, knowing that somewhere in the heart of darkness lay a sliver of truth, waiting for me to forge my way through to make the impossible choice. But as the darkness encroached, an unexpected chill settled deep within me, hinting of buried secrets yet to materialize. What if the truth we unearthed could unravel not only our connection to Fredegund but also pull apart the very fabric of our own identities? Would we be brave enough to confront it? And just as I braced myself for what lay ahead, a piercing cry echoed through the chaos, the anguished wail of a lineage reaching out, binding us closer to the heart of the enigma before us. The air thickened with an unsettling tension as the wailing echoed in our ears, reverberating through the cobwebs of time and drawing us deeper into our cycle of anguish. I felt as if the shadows themselves were laughing at our plight, feasting on our confusion and despair, curling around our throats to stifle the very breath of hope. "Stop!" I shouted against the overwhelming darkness, clenching my fists, trying to channel the oldest of my ancestors' strength. "We will not succumb to your games, Maylis. We choose to stand together." Her eyes glinted with a predatory glee, embers of malice igniting the depths of her being as her voice slithered through the night. "Oh, how naive you are! You think your unity can shield you from the truth. There are horrors lurking in your blood, sensations too potent to ignore." Mathilde's grip tightened around my hand, the warmth of her presence a fragile shield against the icy grip of despair that threatened to envelop us whole. Lucien stood tall, unwavering. It was his resolve that now lit the path through our chaotic uncertainty. "Whatever it is, we will face it together," he vowed, drawing strength from the memories we fought to reclaim, images of love and courage lighting the darkest corners of my heart. But as the shadows wove a tapestry of despair around us, memories twisted into grotesque forms that mocked the tapestry of our shared history. I could hear the whispers of our lineage, fraying as they recounted moments of triumph and tragedy, the shades of those who had faced such trials before us. "Can you hear them?" Maylis crooned with sinister delight, her voice draping over us like a heavy cloak. "Your ancestors cry out, unsure whether to mourn or to celebrate. They linger between pride and betrayal. History is alive, and in this space, it demands revelation." My heart raced wildly, pounding against my ribs as if desperate to escape the very truths that threatened to swallow me whole. The child's ghostly visage flickered before me, an echo of innocence lost in the battle of identity. "Please help me remember, help us heal," she whispered once more, her plea cementing a fragile connection, bridging the gap between past and future. A thought pierced through the fog of uncertainty, igniting a flicker of hope within me. Mathilde, show her your memories, I breathed, realization dawning like the first light of day illuminating the heavy clouds. The love we've built can anchor the past. If we share we can become stronger, yes. Mathilde replied, her eyes shining with fierce determination. Together, we can bring forth our memories, turn the darkness from a cloak of torment into a shroud of healing. As we joined our minds, it felt as if the very fabric of time stretched and twisted, merging our memories into a tangled thread of revelations. Bright moments glimmered like stars in a stormy sky, the laughter of family gatherings, the warmth of shared meals, the quiet comfort of understanding and connection. Yet the echoes of shadows lingered at the edges of this brightness, ghostly reminders of the betrayals that loomed darkly, poised to strike. You have condemned yourselves to navigate the storm, but can you contain the chaos brewing within? Melissa's words were a bitter gust of wind, cutting through the warmth of our united resolve. I felt the shadows recoil as we started weaving the threads of our memories together, for as every moment surfaced, we felt the surge of interconnectedness honing of our collective strength against the despair clawing at our hearts. But even as our spirits soared together, a sudden ripple of fear echoed, what secret threads might emerge from the shadows? As the power of our memories bolstered around us, a dark undercurrent crept, a shadowed hint of betrayal, gnawing insistently at the back of my mind. We stepped towards the edge of this newly woven fabric when simultaneously, the air shifted, the shadows grew restless, a low rumble vibrating through us. Maylee's eyes flashed dangerously, the amusement from her earlier taunting morphed into something more sinister as she spoke. You think you can redefine your destiny? Very well, let's see how you handle the truth. And just like that, the shadows erupted, distorting the air with a spiraling maelstrom of memories, treachery, and haunting whispers swirling around us. The cacophony of echoes intensified, but among them, I discerned a familiar voice, one I'd long believed lost. Help me, the voice pleaded, a voice that sent a chill down my spine, dragging with it shadows I could scarcely comprehend. Fredegund needs you. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. This was not only about me or our family anymore. The weight of the past pressed down upon us, unraveling ties that bound history to present, threatening to entwine us in a web of chaos unless we could decipher the truth behind that haunting echo. What fresh horrors awaited us within this depth of revelation? Who among us would stand unscathed through the unearthing of secrets woven in deceit and agony? With every heartbeat echoing the truth we longed for, I felt a swirling sense of apprehension meld with resolve. It was now or never, the past beckoned for resolution, but at what cost would clarity come? As the shadows writhed around us, thick with anticipation, the finality of our choice loomed ever closer. Would we remain steadfast together, or drift apart as the darkness sought to devour our hearts, a cost borne from the shadows of our ancestry? In that moment, as our hearts echoed the cries of the lost, our fates irrevocably intertwined, the walls of our reality trembled, standing at the brink of revelation. But in the next instant, all too soon, the wail echoed louder, sending shards of raw pain cascading around, shattering the very air I breathed, leaving me standing on the precipice of an unimaginable truth. Would we emerge transformed, or would we sink beneath the weight of our own legacy? The shadows danced malevolently around us, and I felt the pulse of history thundering through the ground beneath my feet. Voices of the past swirled like a tempest, each whisper a fragment of a story I was desperate to unravel. Fredegund needs you. The echo clung to my consciousness, relentless and urgent. This was not merely a tale of betrayal, it was about healing, about unearthing the tender threads of our lineage shrouded in darkness. As the wind howled, I turned to Lucien and Mathilde, their expressions mimicking the tempest around us, determined yet fearful. We've come this far together, we can turn back now, I urged them, feeling the weight of my words settle like a promise in the air. Whatever truth we uncover, it must bring us closer to understanding. The warmth of their hands clasping mine gave me courage as we faced the inky depths before us. Together, Lucien echoed, and as we stood united, the shadows writhed in response, coiling tightly around our resolve. Then let the truth be revealed. Mathilde called out boldly, her voice steady amidst the chaos. Let it peel away the veils of our past. As we pressed forward, the air around us shimmered, an electric energy igniting with each step we took deeper into the maelstrom of memories. The shadows pulsated, a swirling vortex of vivid recollections and anguished cries that formed a tapestry stretching back through generations. And at the heart, the figure of a child lost yet yearning for the embrace of time. Suddenly, the air crackled, and the oppressive veil of darkness parted, revealing a crystalline fragment of light. The figure of Fredegund emerged before us, no longer just an echo of history but a woman trapped between the chains of her actions and the longing for freedom. "You dare to face the specters of your past?" she asked, her voice a bittersweet melody woven with sorrow and strength. "What do you seek?" My heart raced as I took a step closer. "We seek understanding," I declared, my voice steady despite the flutter of fear within. "To see beyond the betrayal, to help the child, to heal our family, to escape the shadows that bind us." Fredegund's eyes flickered with a memory untold, the weight of her lineage etched across her features. "Understanding comes at a cost. What are you willing to sacrifice?" Her question hung before us, heavy and foreboding. Lucian boldly stepped forward. "We will sacrifice our ignorance," he vowed, resolve shimmering in his emerald eyes. "We will face whatever truth we must, together. In unity lies strength," Mathilde added with conviction. The air shifted, pulsing around us like a living thing, alive with the threads of countless lives intertwining. "Very well," Fredegund spoke, her voice resonating, imbued with a power that transcended time itself. "Prepare yourselves for the truth. The sacrifice needed may be more than you anticipated." The moment her words fell, the shadows swelled, enveloping us in a cascade of memories, anguished cries, bittersweet laughter, whispered secrets trapped in the darkness. I felt the weight of my own lineage pressing down upon me, a torrent of guilt and sorrow from a past I had always tried to distance myself from. "Let go," the child's voice urged within the chaos, ethereal and crystalline. "Free us. Help me remember." With that, I clutched my brother's hand tightly and closed my eyes. Images flickered behind my eyelids, a young Fredegund weeping under a starlit sky, a bustling court draped in finery yet cloaked in lies, the echoes of screams that once pierced the silence of night. Each memory clawed at the walls of my heart, echoing truth and treachery in equal measure. "Renee." Lucian's voice broke through, crystal clear amidst the tumult. "Focus. What do you see?" "I see her," I breathed, indulging in that flicker of luminous hope. Fredegund, stripped bare of her crown, her heart aching for connection and forgiveness. She was lost. I can feel her pain. It's a cycle. Betrayal runs through our blood, but so does love. A piercing wail erupted around us as shadows twisted, each one a fragment of pain resonating with our ancestral grief. To uncover the layers beneath the surface is to truly know and to truly dare, Fredegund murmured, her silhouette rippling like water. "Your choice is what will define you." And in that moment, understanding wove itself together like threads of light, binding the past to the present. I took a deep breath, longing for absolution, ready to confront the more profound truths of our story. "We choose to break this cycle," I declared, my voice steady amidst the chaos. "We choose love over lies, understanding over ignorance. We must remember." Instantly, the shadows shuddered, unsettling the very fabric around us as fractured memories began to coalesce. Fredegund's gaze flickered with a glimmer of hope. "Then be bravito, forge ahead. You must uncover the raw truth of love lost, the darker corners of your lineage, and the sacrifices made in the name of ambition." Her voice grew louder, reverberating through to me, an ancient echo resonating within our hearts. As I closed my eyes, I felt my spirit expand, drawn into a vibration that echoed through eternity. In those fleeting moments, warmth bathed me, sweet moments of love threaded through grief and loss. I sensed those echoes whispering secrets long buried, tenderness, sacrifice, betrayal that entangled my heart and leapt into the air as palpable shapes. The child's presence grew clearer, her spirit weaving between our own as shadows began to dance around us. "Remember me," she called, her voice rising above the tumult. "You must embrace the truth." And with that plea, we grasped hands tighter, a web of unity enveloping USA tapestry spun from the love of generations caught between light and shadow. "We remember you," I affirmed, and the world exploded in bursts of luminescent energy, each flickering shard resonating with the echoes of our inquiry and awakening before embedding ripples pushing through time, reclaiming the dark past. Tendrils of light cascaded around us, illuminating the path before Usown, where shadows began to retreat, collapsing under the weight of the truths we bore. We choose understanding. We choose love. We choose to break free. The three of us echoed in unison, sealing our pact against the oppressive darkness. As the shadows dissipated, Fredegund smiled, a sparkle of hope igniting in her eyes, reflecting the love that dared to linger even in the depths of despair. "You have truly set me free," she whispered, her figure shimmering into the light. "Now it is time to forge your own path." In that moment, the child's spirit transformed, shimmering ethereally before us, a radiant figure of innocence restored and peace reclaimed. "Thank you," she breathed, warmth flooding her words with vitality. "Remember, and your family will be whole once more." With the last rivulets of darkness fading, I held tight to my brother and Mathilde, a renewed sense of purpose coiling around us, binding our hearts in a newfound acceptance that resonated through the very fabric of our existence. And as the final shadows ebbed away, a cleansing surge of light engulfed us. I felt the weight of our ancestral lineage shift, whispering promises of restoration over our family. For we had forged our truths from the ashes of a complicated legacy, rising like phoenixes from the remnants of our past. In that luminous moment, I gazed into the eyes of my beloved brother and my fiercely loyal friend by my side. The ache of history had transformed, surrendering to the promise of redemption that glimmered before us, a future illuminated by the strength we had unearthed amid the darkness. As the echoes faded into the night, we stood united on the threshold of a new dawn, heartbeats syncing like a shared rhythm resonating in time. "Together," I whispered, my heart racing with the possibility that lies ahead, and as we turned toward the rising sun, a powerful truth bathed us in light: love had ultimately broken our chains. Together, we dared to reclaim our legacy. From that moment forward, the shadows lurked no more, replaced by glimmers of hope shining eternally through time, testament to our journey and the courage it took to unveil the past and pave the way for a future beyond imagining. For now, we were whole.